Let's try down.
By themselves,
that will come into your ministry. So I thank God for this opportunity. What have I learned in my young life? In my very early 40s, really very early 40s. But I see that opportunities must always be seized. We must always seize opportunities. You know, we are aware that everybody is blessed. It is very true. You are pastors and you even know more than I am that when God created us, God actually blessed us from the start that we should be fruitful, multiply, and take dominion over all of the earth. So the blessing is already there. But you see, the difference between successful people and people who are not successful is opportunity and how you are able to seize it to your advantage. This is why Solomon mentions in Ecclesiastes, is it 9 verse 11, 12, he says that the race is not to who? It is, or food to whoever. In fact, he goes on and on. He's trying to say that people are successful not just because they were meant to be successful, but time and opportunity, or others say chance, happens to them all. Time and opportunity would happen to all of us sat here today. Time and opportunity happened to me.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame.
Government is broke, government is broke. But people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us here on the show. Today is the 26th of March 2025, and welcome to Good Morning Ghana. My name is Audu Moro, and it's always a pleasure to come your way. As usual, we'll say a big thanks to the Almighty God for another rare privilege and opportunity to come your way and to join the nation's conversation on what's happening in our dear country, Ghana. Before I let you in on my guest for the show this morning, I would, as usual, walk you through the front page stories of the newspapers. And I'll start, as usual, with the Daily Graphic. Daily Graphic this morning reports, it says, education access increases steadily. That's according to, and quality trends fluctuate, GSS report. Government suspends community mining scheme, committees similarities to illegal mining. Cites similarities to illegal mining. Housing Ministry to address whole water challenges. Sophia Kufu advocates overhaul of natural resources laws. The Ghanaian Times. National Education Statistics report. Quality education fluctuates, though access to school increases in past 2 decades. Minister orders probe into 1.5 billion ECG value containers disappearance. 3 killed, 3 injured in Binduri gun attack. Youth group calls for curfew. Suit against removal of IGP. Other security agencies' heads dismissed. Daily Guide. Edubuahene wife apply for bail. Political persecution. You can arrest us, but we remain resolute. Afenyo Markin. Momo vendors killers caged. I am not on the run. Ex-GIIF CEO. The New Crusading Guide. No amount of intimidation will break our spirit. Minority leader vents spleen on government over intimidation. Tackling ravaging Galamsey menace. Miriku Duka advocates all-inclusive nationalistic approach. Chief Justice's fate hangs as President Mahama consults Council of State over petitions against her. Mahama fails fight against illegal mining, must apologize to Akufo-Addo. Paul Berima, I haven't committed any wrong. Former GIF CEO denies running to Senegal. Bawumia supports Kumasi fire victims with 1,000 bags of cement, 200,000 cedis. The Insight. Magdan in trouble as Songo Lagoon owners withdraw consent to Electrochem lease agreement with government. Cecilia Dapa, lawyer claims stolen jewelry from ex-minister's home belonged to Asantehini's late wife. Akufo-Addo's government was a complete mess, says ex-President Kufuor's former legal advisor. Healthcare in Cuba, how a tiny island defies the U.S. sanctions to lead in healthcare. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger withdraw from International Organization of La Francophonie. The Herald. NPA boss continues familiarization tour in Eastern region. $1.5 million bulletproof Toyota Land Cruiser supply indicts military. Kennedy Japan pitches camp against Bawumia's 2028 return as they haggle over Edum fire victims. Mahama consults Council of State on 3 petitions for CJ's removal. Bost donates to Chief Imam to support Ramadan observance. NCA boss and Radio Gold mend fences. The Daily Statesman. Galamsey intensifies under Mahama. Kumasi MPs rally around city's growth beyond politics. Intimidation won't break our spirit. Apenyomakin criticizes NDC's focus on persecution over governance. Bawumia supports Edum fire victims. Dakar Times. Rebuild in trust and hope. Babin, tax speaker of Liberia. Minority Court media CSOs to rise up against intimidation. Jomoro MP advocates for financial literacy for women. Land Ministry embarks on awareness campaign to protect forest and environment. Let's drive equity and inclusion in society. North Dai MP. Mess inherited at Ministry of Communications. Sam George weeps. The Custodian. Mustafa Yusuf highlights NPP's unmatched sports infrastructure. Bawumia supports Edum for fire victims with 200,000 cedis, 1,000 bags of cement. We will seek justice for Edubuahine legal team. You can't bully us, Minority tells AG Ayene. The Inquisitor. Dislike for calm atmosphere, bad game at GACL to stampede President Mahama. Sam George exposes alleged rot at NETA. More arrests expected in high-profile financial scandals. Deputy AG. We will fight Galamsey head-on. Veeb. The Ghanaian Publisher. Sam George sacks 100 Ghana Post workers. Persecution won't break our spirit, Apenyomakin tells Mahama. Attorney General under fire for public trial of Edubuahine. Bawumia donates 200,000 cedis and 1,000 bags of cement to Edum fire victims. The Informer. Edu Market Inferno. Bawumia supports victims. Corruption fight. AG wants Mahama appointees. I'll come after you if. Naked thievery, go after them. Mr. AG. It's a whole commentary on that. IEA on warpath with government over unfair natural resources contract. OSP, FIC, joined forces to fight corruption, money laundering, others. Tackle Galamsey head on. Veeb urges military. The Daily Post. Mahama consults Councils of State on petitions to remove Chief Justice. Vice President Topikwa Jumai reveals Ministry of Defense 3.7 billion debt. NDC's Gold Board is a good initiative, Che Mensa Bonsu. Metro Lens. Gold Board is a good initiative. MPP's Oseche Mensa Bonsu. Fan frenzy turns foolhardy. Pitch invader jailed for 100 days. NHIS cracks down on illegal charges. Co-payment menace to be stamped out. Bawumia commends Ghana Fire Service for a yeoman's job in Kumasi market. And the Business and Financial Times. Lack of information hindering growth of women-led businesses. 2025 domestic bond re-entry seen as risky without debt alignment. NIBS gets new chancellor, deputy. Cashew production declines by 30%. The Decan unveils largest archive digitization center and conservation lab. So that's it for the front pages of the newspapers. I'll be back with my guests, one of whom is already seated. Please stay with us.
Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth and fresh breath.
I'm a fair missy way.
Repacho Bantama.
Machasi.
It's her smile, the fresh breath.
Me Jidi say we use Cal 360 toothpaste. Some kind.
Cal 360 toothpaste.
That's Kia. Cal 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector. Onim jom kasan. Ile hosen. Cal 360 did the way. It's cool mint. Gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
You will see so feeling kika when you know Cal 360 toothpaste.
Happy smile.
Cal 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth and fresh breath. Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth and fresh breath.
I'm a fair missy way.
Repacho Bantama.
Machasi.
It's her smile, the fresh breath.
Me Jidi say we use Cal 360 toothpaste. Some kind.
Cal 360 toothpaste.
That's Kia. Cal 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector. Onim jom kasan. Ile hosen. Cal 360 did the way. It's cool mint. Gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
You will see so feeling kika when you know Cal 360 toothpaste.
Happy smile.
Cal 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth and fresh breath. Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Look around. Home also need a makeover. Mine clearly does. So we went to Ashroom and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Matching furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
Where's Como collection? Dressing up is just a breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
a table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashphone store now and discover the new Como collection. Ashphone, feel it, know it. Energy drink.
Mommy.
Michelle say, fe.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Chocolate Toothpaste, healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Chocolate Toothpaste, Sankofa.
Yenchi, Kel Chocolate Toothpaste.
Happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved. Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath.
I'm a fat missy way.
Repacho Bantama.
Machasi.
That's a cycle.
It's her smile, the fresh breath.
Me Jidi say we use Kel 360 toothpaste. Some kind.
Kel 360 toothpaste.
Reskia, Kel 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector. Onim jom kasa.
Ile kosen. Kel 360 better way. It's cool mint. Gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
You will so feeling kika when you know Kel 360 toothpaste.
Happy smile.
Kel 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath. Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
I'm a brand manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printings. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable printing.
Attention all farmers, are you ready to take your crops to the next level? Introducing 3 effective organic composts that will revolutionize your farming practices. ACAP, KCAP and Iricop brings to you the ultimate solution for your fertilizer needs. Introducing the ACAP Grade A, KCAP Equiafua Jinkwa, and the Iricop with cocoa blends, palm blend, and mulch. These are made from locally sourced municipal solid waste, and these are the perfect choice for sustainable farming. Join the organic revolution today. Boost your crop yield, improve soil health, and support sustainable farming practices. Choose ACAP, KCAP, and Iricop organic compost for a greener and bountiful harvest. For your purchase and more information, call the numbers on your screen. Our products are endorsed by Cocobot, Planting for Food and Jobs, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Cratchy, unemu bua unkoisha Dr. Ban uye denwa.
Oh, Mr. Yamfani come and me buru.
Mami do buru. Don't ya tell me ko bra. Mumi Yamfani ko Dr. Ban ho.
Dr. Ban o ya de.
Bra, se ban no mpemu adwuma sasabro slow Dr. Ban o ye.
Hey, kemi kona meka. Oh, no mpemu nimdi onu ana ye expert nya zanfo no. O akra eni Kumasi no mpemu expert yen kan kyerɛw.
You're still live on Good Morning Ghana on the Metro Television. My name is Audu Moro. My guests are already seated, but before I introduce them, let me remind you that Blue Jeans Energy Drink, my favorite Blue Jeans Energy Drink, is what I would continue to remind you to taste it because of the endorsement that generally the public has given to this particular product we're talking about. And it essentially has to do with the benefits that you get when you taste this drink, this energy drink. Now, this energy drink has been on the Ghanaian market for more than 20 years, and we already know what it does for the body. It contains many vitamins and nutrients. We're talking about B2, B3, B6, B12. We're talking about taurine and guarana, which are known to boost your strength and your energy, as well as promote high performance and endurance. Blue Jeans Energy Drink has been tested, it's been tried, and everybody says they love it. And I'm sure that when you try it, you would give the same kind of testimony. It's in shops nationwide. So for bulk purchases, contact Budget Cash and Carry Limited on 0208 128 190, 0208 128 190, and 055 001 000, 055 001 0000. So yes, my guests are here, and Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr. is the managing editor of the Insight newspaper. He's here with us. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Uncle Kwesi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
It's good to have you join us. And last week, Uncle Kwesi was not here. He had to attend to something very urgent, and that's why he couldn't show. Lots of people were asking where you were, and we had to speak for you, you know. Also joining us in the studio this morning is the Honorable Collins Adomako-Mensah, who's the MP for Efidiase Kwabre West, and also a former Deputy Energy Minister, who's also here with us. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Fija Kwabre North.
It's Fija Kwabre North. Yes. This is about the second. Okay, so Fija Kwabre North. Yes, Northwest. We'll fix that. But thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Anyway, so, how have you been?
It's been good. I'm okay. I personally feeling very good.
Okay.
Yesterday the debates on the budget concluded.
Yeah.
With the minority leader and the majority leader concluding the debates.
Okay.
For both sides.
Okay.
That's what normally happens.
Yeah.
After 3-4 days of the debate, the leaders will then conclude by consolidating the position of the minority.
Yeah.
And then articulating it on the floor. Afenyo Markin, in my view, gave a very good account of himself. The confidence, spoke very, very well yesterday. Close to almost 40 minutes of a presentation. And then the leader of the House, Sayariga, also concluded or summed up the position of the majority. He also used close to about 40 minutes concluding. It was a nice, very friendly, of course. Some banter here and there, which is normal with our parliamentary practice. So once that has been cleared, a lot of the committees now are considering the estimates. Yesterday, my committee, the Energy Committee, concluded our estimates and presented our reports on the floor. And the House unanimously approved the sum of close to about 1.2 billion for the activities of the Ministry of Energy and its agencies. Of course, that was a drop in the allocation that was given to them from last year. Last year, they did about 1.3 billion. This time around, the allocation to the ministry dropped a little bit, close to about 400 million drop. A few of the issues that came up during our deliberations, rural electrification has been a key item on the agenda of the ministry. And this year, they intend to increase electricity access to about 90%, which is the universally acceptable level. The Electricity Company of Ghana collect some levies on their behalf. Unfortunately, we realized that the monies that have been collected were not trickling in as regularly as possible to the Energy Ministry. It was an issue that we raised, and the minister has taken action and have instructed the Electricity Company of Ghana to henceforth comply with the act accordingly. NPA has had its budget also slashed quite significantly. We also raised that issue on the floor. The nuclear agency or authority, it came to light that all its staff are on secondment. So we realized from VRA, GridCo. And we thought that if it's an important objective of the government, we should have some permanent staff there to spearhead that agenda, that nuclear agenda. We also raised that issue to the minister, who has promised to conduct some rationalization and see how best we could really equip that section of the ministry in order for us to revamp our nuclear capabilities, which of course started way back in Kumasi time. So yes, I realized that the Transport Ministry also, Roads and Transports also had cause to complain about some reduction in their budget allocation. But of course, you should understand the minister. This is a new minister trying to rationalize expenditure, and so he has to cut here and there to see. But we hope that maybe during the mid-year review, a lot of these shortfalls could be pushed up in order for the ministries to work hard to complete and fulfill their objectives. Yeah. So far, Parliament has been very cordial. We hope to rise on Friday, because as you know, the budgets that was given to them was just for the first quarter. And so if we are unable to approve the appropriation by the 31st of March, there will be a lockdown. Government can't spend. So we are trying as much as possible to ensure that by the Friday before we rise, we should be able to have concluded on the approval of the appropriations so that government can continue to run.
So at the moment, government is living off the expenditure in advance of appropriation.
Absolutely, that was approved.
So yes,
the last
year.
Last year, but it ends
31st
March,
wow.
First quarter.
Wow, that's
so
tight.
Yes. So we are mandated to conclude the approval by Friday.
Right.
Otherwise, we are going to have a challenge.
Wow. But would you say you're running against time?
Well, so far I realize that most of the committees have concluded their estimates conversations. And what normally happens is that, like for my committee, we are done, it's been approved. We have to wait for all the other ministries and their committees to approve them on the floor. And then it goes back to the budget committee, who then consolidates all the approvals into an appropriation bill for it to be approved into an act for the president to assent to it before they can spend. Yes, it's very tight, but it's not unusual. It's not unusual. My experience in the House tells me that it's not unusual. I anticipate that by Friday, we should be able to conclude the discussion.
That's fine. That's fine. But how's your party doing? And by the time I'll bring up an issue, but before then, I just want to ask how's the party doing? I know you're rebuilding, you're reorganizing, and you're resetting, basically. Would you say the party is on course to do it?
Well, I'll not use the word resetting, and now politically, the word reset is a little bit uncomfortable for my party.
So, are you happy with the status quo?
I'm not happy, okay. But I don't want you to use the word resetting.
So you're updating?
Oh, we are not resetting. Don't worry.
I hear. Feel free, please do. Yeah. So
we are going through our own internal mechanism to ensure that we bounce back as strong as possible.
Okay.
And of course, as you know, the Microwave Committee yesterday or 2 days ago, the members of Parliament also had an opportunity to meet the committee. I was not present, but I know a few of my colleagues who attended the meeting with the Microwave Committee meeting. Others also sent in petitions. And so I think gradually the Microwave Committee is heading towards an end in their deliberations. And I'm sure as time goes on, they will come out with their reports. Okay. The whole idea is for everybody to be given an opportunity to vent, as it were. Yeah. I mean, to tell their story, what they think should be done to help our party rebuild and rebound as quickly as possible.
I see.
So far, it's been quite cordial. Of course, you have one or two very strong voices openly making comments on radio, TV. I think everybody should be given an opportunity to speak their mind and to say what they feel had happened wrongly and what they think should be done to correct it. At the end of the day, we are a party. It's an association.
Okay.
It's our hope that as quickly as possible, we can regroup and come back.
All right.
But so far, within the party,
there
seems to be some calm.
All right.
And I don't see any shaky things happening.
Whilst the party is, doing everything possible to reorganize, it's beginning to look like the internal contest of the party has started very early as to who leads the party. Flag bearership race is what I'm talking about. If you look at today's Herald newspaper, it has a very interesting headline, and it says, Kennedy Ejapon pitches camp against Baumia's 2028 return as they haggle over Edum fire victims. One would have thought that it's a disaster. Everybody, hands on the wheel, let's sort it out and, help the victims. But it appears that something else is happening within the political space. So the Herald says the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and former Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Kennedy Ejapon, yesterday demonstrated how fierce the race for 2028 New Patriotic Party flag bearer contest is going to be at the site of the devastating fire outbreak that destroyed several trading shops last Friday in the party's stronghold. The two prominent individuals were out in different forms. At Edum, the central business district of Kumasi in the Ashanti region, empathizing with the traders over the loss, while literally laying their signpost for the flag bearer contest. Interestingly, a spokesperson for Mr. Ejapon, Kweku Amo Wate, I believe, I don't know whether you know him, reported yesterday, Tuesday, March 25, that a team had been dispatched to the affected area to assess the situation and provide immediate support to the victims. The ex-vice president was personally on the ground to see things for himself. He extended support to traders affected by the recent devastating fire at Edum, Kumasi, donating 200,000 Ghana cedis and 1,000 bags of cement to aid in rebuilding their businesses. In contrast, Mr. Ejapon only assured the victims of his commitment to providing support. The blaze, which broke out on Friday, March 24, ravaged several shops and stores in the bustling business, destroying goods worth millions of Ghana cedis. The fire, which erupted in the early hours of March 21, destroyed dozens of shops and goods worth millions of Ghana cedis, leaving many traders in distress. Now, during the visit, Dr. Bawumia met with affected traders, some of whom broke down in tears as they described how years of hard work were lost within hours. They appealed for assistance to rebuild their businesses. In response, Dr. Mahmoud Bami expressed his sympathy and urged patience as the Ghana National Fire Service investigated to determine the cause of the fire and prevent similar incidents in the future. We have to wait for the investigation by the Ghana National Fire Service, and then we can determine the cause of the fire so that we can prevent it the next time round. I'm donating 200,000 cedis and 1,000 bucks to the victims, and I urge private individuals to also support the traders in getting their livelihoods back. Dr. Mahmoud Bami also appealed to the Mahama government to expedite the completion of the KJTA Central Market Phase 2 project, which he said was about 80% complete when the MP left office. Additionally, Dr. Mahmoud Bami commended the efforts of firefighters who battled the blaze, noting that their swift response prevented further destruction. I also want to appeal to the government to complete Phase 2, so I've talked about that already. Now, of course, the former Vice President was accompanied by the MPP Regional Chairman Bernard Boetiako and other party officials. Now, Kenny Japon's team, which includes representatives from his office and other key stakeholders, will engage with traders, assess their losses, and explore ways to support them. Their findings will help shape long-term solutions to prevent such disasters in the future. And he says, as a businessman, he understands the immense efforts required to build the long hours, the sacrifices, and the hopes for a better future. To see it all taken away in an instant is painful beyond words. He feels your pain and shares in your frustration. He also called on the Ghana National Fire Service, the police, and other relevant agencies to strengthen market safety measures, improve emergency access, and enforce stricter fire prevention protocols. Japan assured that upon his return to Ghana, he would personally visit the market, meet with affected traders, and discuss how to help them rebuild. And the rest of the story talks about ECG and so on and so forth. Is this what we're seeing a foretaste of what to expect?
In fact,
a precursor.
Listen
what
to
to expect.
Listen to you.
As far as the internal context is concerned.
Listening to you reading the story, I'm wondering what the purpose of the story. What's the purpose of the story?
As captured by the Herald.
Yes, that Kennedy Japan is pitching camp with Baumia. I just didn't get the whole picture.
You don't think so?
What is the issue? There's fire. The former vice president visits the area to find out at first hand what is happening there. He donates money to them and even advocates that private individuals should come to the aid of the fire victims. Members of parliament within the Ashanti Kumasi enclave have visited the place. What is wrong if Kennedy Japan also decides to visit the place? Where is the pitching of camp? I want to understand. So because Kennedy Japan has written a letter that when he returns to Ghana, he will come and visit the site. It means he's pitching camp with Baumia. I don't see the connection. Where is the pitching?
You don't think that?
Yes. Where is the pitching of camp?
You don't think that?
When Dr. Baumia went there,
yes,
I didn't see any clash. I didn't see any members of Kennedy Japan's camp having a counter visit during the same period. Mr. Japan is an individual. He's not a member of parliament.
Yes.
He's an individual. He's a Ghanaian. Just as when I go to Kumasi, I intend to visit the site. But this weekend I'll go there.
Okay.
So if Kennedy Japan decides to go there, so am I pitching camp with Baumia?
You know, as soon as...
Because I intend to go there.
You know, as soon as Dr. Mahmoud Bamia went there,
yes,
a few hours later,
yes,
Kennedy Japan's team issued a statement.
And so what? I can even issue a statement. Indeed, the MP for Subin issued a statement on the floor of parliament.
But you don't...
Is he pitching camp? Is the Subin MP pitching camp with Baumia?
It's strike knowledge
against
that Kennedy Japan would like to give this whole thing a shot again.
I don't have any problem. When the time is up, and Mr. Kennedy Japan, who is a member of the MPP, a very strong member, last time he contested. If he decides to contest again, so be it. I'm trying very hard to understand how the Herald will couch a story to create the impression that there's a problem between Honorable Kennedy Japan and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia because Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia visited the site, donated some money. Ken is not in town. He also says when he comes, he will visit the site. Where would he, I'm trying to understand. How would you write such a report?
So you're accusing the Herald of...
He's just creating unnecessary tension, unnecessary insinuations. I don't see the pitching against each other. I said, I'll visit the site this Saturday. Am I pitching camp with Dr. against Bawumia?
Okay. But you've never told anybody you're interested in leaving.
Who told you I'm not interested in becoming a president?
Oh, you mean you want to declare on the show?
Have I told you have I told you
want
I
to
don't
declare?
want to be president?
You want to declare? That's fine.
Have I told you I don't want to be president?
Oh, you want to?
Oh, have I told you I don't want to be president?
2028?
Has Kennedy Japon told you that he intends to contest?
Oh yes, I mean he said it publicly.
Where?
He said it publicly.
Where? Show me the publication.
I mean we have our sources.
I'm surprised I've not picked my intelligence.
Obviously, what do you think about this?
I'm saying that I think it's very normal.
Do about nothing.
What if Kennedy Japon wants to visit sites?
Okay.
Well, Honorable, I want to take your declaration of interest in the presidential candidature of the New Patriotic
and wish it well.
Seriously. Because what you have just done could be seriously interpreted as a declaration of interest in the contest. I wish you well. Now, having said that, I honestly think that we have been most unfair to the Herald. Nowhere in the Herald report is it stated that there was a fight between Kennedy Japan supporters and Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia's supporters. Nowhere in the Herald report is that stated. All that the Herald seeks to do is to point out that there's a scramble for attention between two potential candidates of the New Patriotic Party for the 2028 election. That's all that the Herald sought to do. And this is not mischievous. And we've heard Adwa Safo and others claiming publicly that they are bringing back Dr. Bawumia. Clear statements and other statements that I don't want to go into for now. We've heard persons who are loyal to Kennedy Japan also insisting that he will become the flag bearer for the New Patriotic Party in 2028. And there are others. I mean, I have information that there are a couple of others. I've actually had the privilege of speaking to some of them and so on. So if there's a fire outbreak and there appears to be some contest for attention, and I'm using my words very carefully, every newspaper can do what the Herald has done. And it's not mischievous. It's not sensationalism. It's none of the things that we also speak about.
It's pitching camp.
Pitching camp is pitching camp. You understand? So it's none of the things. And I think that public commentators ought to be fair to journalists and media houses. Because sometimes media houses and journalists receive bashing which is completely unfair. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting this from you, somebody like you, who has a reputation for being balanced and sometimes being very truthful and so on. I wasn't expecting this from you at all. Now, having said that, I think that I have to make the point also that, look, there's a disaster in the Edum market in Kumasi.
Yeah.
And any Ghanaian or even foreigner who has some assistance to give must be welcome to do that. And we have to see it in that light. This is more or less like the disaster which struck, in the lower basin of the Volta River, following the floods there and so on, and other disasters. So all assistance must be welcomed. Assistance from Kennedy Japan must be welcomed. Assistance from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia must be welcomed. And indeed, it's important also to recognize that even the National Democratic Congress, led by President Mahama, has also shown some concern. First, there was the visit by the regional minister. In fact, when the fire was raging, the regional minister was on the spot, to give direction and to coordinate the work of the security services and so on. Subsequently, President Mahama also went to the site, and many others have gone to the site. I expect a lot more people to go to the site. So that's how I want to see it. It's okay, everybody. I mean, my brother, if you have some CDs to spare, I think that it can be put to good use in the Edum market.
Absolutely.
And so on. So every Ghanaian, even non-Ghanaians, must be encouraged to contribute, especially given the fact that we are in times when resources available to government are limited. And the Honourable Member of Parliament made the point about how some expenditure has been cut and how justifiable that may be and so on.
Yeah.
So given all of these circumstances, I'm happy that Dr. Baumia went there, donated 200,000 cedis and 1,000 bags of cement. Kennedy Japan may do more than that. That's fine. If he does less, that's still fine. You understand? So I'm not worried at all. I mean, I don't see any big problem with the newspaper report to start with. And I don't see any big problem with politicians going there and expressing solidarity and wanting to help. There's no problem at all with that, you know.
So,
okay.
Just
we're going into our
oh, just a little.
Okay, that's fine.
A little point. Well, Uncle made a point about he being disappointed in me.
Oh, not so disappointed. Yeah. Just a little disappointment.
Well, if I said anything that
without
hurt the
offensive,
paper, why not? I don't have a problem in apologizing to the paper.
Right.
My understanding of the reports by the paper was, for me, he was trying to create something that for me is non-existent.
Right.
And that there's no problem between Kennedy Japan, Honorable, and Dr. Mahmoud Baumia.
All right.
Both of them have the right to visit the place. Okay. And I don't think they are crumbling for attention.
Honorable, there shouldn't be a problem because two members of a political party decide to contest for a position.
Yes.
So if you make the point that two people are contesting for a position, you're not suggesting that there's a problem between them. Yes. It's a free democratic contest.
Yes.
And that's all it is.
Yes. I mean, you yourself said that you've spoken to other people who may also be interested. You know, and my point was that I don't see how the two of them deciding to visit the place means one is pitching camp against the other. I don't see that. And that was my departure from the reportage. But as I said, if it came out as not being fair to the paper, I don't have a problem.
You see, I think this is where some people are coming from, and perhaps you're not getting it, that your party has just come out of an elections, badly bruised. It's in a bad state, you know, simply put. And your party supporters are looking forward to leadership, to pick up the pieces and rebuild the party. And so if you have a situation where the former vice president, who led the party into this defeat, is consoling with fire victims, okay, and then just hours later, Kennedy Japan is also issuing a statement and saying, look, I also have something to do for you. You're not going to blame the person for reading any meanings into it and say that, look, is that the most important thing where you guys are looking at, you know, getting ahead of yourselves in terms of who,
I don't think
why don't you rather focus on building the party?
My point is that I don't see that as getting ahead of ourselves. That's my view.
That's fine.
I don't see that getting.
That's fine. So let's get on with this. Let's get on with this. So something absolutely incredibly bizarre has happened at Ghana Ports, and I'm talking about the ports and harbors, and it has to do with some ECG containers. Now, there's a story here in today's Ghanaian Times where it says Minister orders probe into 1.5 billion cedis ECG value containers disappearance. Now, the story is by Agnes Opoku-Sapon, who says that the Minister of Energy and Green Transition, Mr. John Abdullahi Jinapo, has ordered a full-scale investigation into the disappearance of 1,328 containers belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana at the port. According to the minister, a total of 2,491 containers were identified as being held at the port. However, ECG itself could only account for some of them, leaving 1,328 unaccounted for. The estimated value of all the containers was about 1.5 billion cedis. He reveals this in Accra yesterday when an investigation report on ECG's container hold-up at Tema Port and related procurement issues were presented to him. He assured that a detailed investigations would be conducted and to find out how the containers went missing and to recover their monetary value. To prevent further losses, he said the ministry had decided to move the remaining containers to a secured warehouse under 24-hour security provided by National Security. He criticized the decision to make the procurement unit a stand-alone directorate with Estate Department, stating that it was unnecessary and had contributed to financial mismanagement. Mr. Jinapor said plans had been made to restructure the procurement unit, replace the current leadership with a qualified procurement professional, and introduce stricter controls over procurement plans. He expressed concern over the fact that ECG's procurement spending had exceeded its approved budget by over 700%. 700%. As part of the broader reforms, he stated that ECG's procurement process would undergo major changes. New monitoring and tracking systems will be introduced with real-time oversight from the ministry, ECG leadership, and national security. Mr. Jinapor said procurement approvals would be closely monitored to prevent excessive spending beyond approved budget, adding that the ECG board will be required to justify all procurement decisions, ensuring that spending aligns with actual needs and available resources. He also said the ministry would work closely with the Attorney General and the police to prosecute those responsible for the missing containers and financial mismanagement. Let's listen to John Jinapor first before we get on with our conversation.
91 containers. ECG itself presents as containers held at the ports. 1,328 cannot be accounted for. That is very serious and that's very alarming. And I assure you, we would conduct a detailed investigation into this matter. And somebody or some people will be held liable for this. 1,328 containers cannot just vanish into thin air. Somebody must be held liable for this. And I assure you that we would hold people liable for this. And whatever it takes, we'll work with the Attorney General, we'll work with the police, and ensure that whichever group, whatever people are responsible for this, are brought to book. And that we retrieve either the containers or the monetary equivalent of these containers. And that I assure you that this ministry would pursue this to its logical conclusion. We've also decided that we would move the rest of the containers into a secured warehouse. And let me thank the National Security Coordinator in his office for assisting us so far. They've taken delivery of some of these containers. I've written to National Security to provide us with 24-hour security. We have a detailed catalog or inventory of all these containers, their serial numbers, and everything, and put it in a system where the Minister, ECG, National Security, and if the presidency is interested, everybody will monitor these containers. We'd also have to change the procurement processes at ECG. It can't be business as usual, and I can assure you that we intend to take some swift, far-reaching measures to ensure that the right thing is done. We are not targeting anybody. We have no particular person in sight, but whoever is superintendent over this, especially the former managing directors, they will be held liable, and they have to answer for their stewardship, and that is the essence of public office. Today, as I speak to you, Talo has shut down their pipeline because of accumulated legacy debt. And I've had to go and see the Minister of Finance to use the taxpayers' money to find a solution to this challenge. If we do not resolve that immediately, it means that we cannot deliver power. And so ECG is critical. If we don't get ECG fixed, we'll continue to have serious challenges which will impact power delivery and even the delivery of petroleum products. And so as a ministry, we'll be taking some very tough, unpleasant, difficult decisions.
Okay, so that's the Sector Minister, John Abdullahi Jinapor. He's the Energy Minister. There's another video, but maybe, depending on how the conversation goes, we may play that video on during the conversation. But let's see how it goes. But I'll start with you, Uncle Kwesi. I mean, what do you make of this story?
Well, I mean, containers are not like packets of chocolates.
Yeah.
Coffee, so these are huge, things. And we are not talking about one or two. They're talking about 1,328 containers.
What?
Missing. I'm sure that even Houdini will find it very, very difficult to pull this trick. Houdini, of all people, will find it very, very difficult to pull this trick. 1,328 containers simply missing. How did they get lost? So who can disagree with the minister when he calls for full-scale investigation and measures to protect what is left of the containers? Nobody can disagree with the minister. Many questions have been raised about procurement by some of these state institutions. And these questions were not raised only yesterday. Years ago, 10, 12 years ago, all the way up till now, we have heard stories about some state enterprises purchasing stationery which was supposed to last for more than 100 years. Incredible. Clearly incredible, you understand. So again, I agree with the minister that some streamlining of procurement processes is important. Okay. Now, all of this is happening at a time when, especially in the power sector, the companies operating there have accumulated huge debts. If you talk about the independent power producers, for example, we owe them something like $2.3 billion. That's how much we owe them.
Yeah.
So the debts are all over the place. This new government is saddled with debt. It is suffering under the weight of debt. And then in the midst of all of this, 1,320 containers of material which can help the ECG to revamp itself. To assure ordinary people of regular supply of power and so on, is gone missing. What is this?
Before you continue, let me help you with this. You talked about the mounting debt that our power sector is faced with. The Africa Sustainable Energy Center, which is ASEC for short, it has apparently conducted a critical review of Ghana's energy sector in light of the 2025 budget presented by Finance Minister Dr. Kasila Toforsing. Now, the findings highlight alarming financial shortfalls, crippling debt, and structural inefficiencies that threaten the country's energy stability and economic growth. And it says Ghana's energy sector is under severe financial strain, with government spending on energy ballooning to 20.8 billion cedis in 2024. Despite efforts to stabilize the sector, the financing gap for 2025 is projected as 35 billion cedis, with an estimated total shortfall of 140 billion from 2023 to 2026. This unsustainable trajectory is diverting critical funds away from infrastructure and social services. Now, the financial distress extends to independent power producers to whom Ghana owes 1.73 billion cedis. The lack of a clear payment plan raises concerns of electricity reliability, as IPPs may be forced to cut back on power generation, exacerbating frequent outages and disrupting businesses. Meanwhile, the ECG faces its financial crisis with debt reaching 68 billion cedis. Inefficiencies in revenue collection, poor metering systems, and electricity theft have worsened ECG's liquidity issues, undermining efforts to sustain power supply.
Yeah.
To buttress the point you made earlier.
Exactly. And if you go into the past, you find some things which are extremely shocking, but which may still be, happening.
Yeah.
I recall doing a story when I used to be a reporter of the Ghanaian Times. ECG transformers broke down. There was a local company in Ghana, Ghanaian company, which could repair the transformers. The bosses of ECG at the time decided that no, the local company should not rewind whatever had to be rewound, and that they should send it to Nigeria. Okay. Now, they sent the transformers to a church in Nigeria
Huh?
Yes, a church. The Olumba Church.
To do what there?
To rewind. I mean, incredible. We actually shipped the transformers all the way to Nigeria to a church. Olumba Church. I remember the story very, very well.
Incredible.
You know, for the transformers to be when there was a local company here capable of repairing the transformers. Now, you'll be surprised. Of course, the church could not fix the transformers. So the transformers were never fixed. They never came back to Ghana, and we paid foreign exchange to the church. I mean, these are incredible things that happen. And the final analysis, it is the Ghanaian consumer who suffers, you know. Right now, there is talk about privatization of electricity. Of course, the trade unions, led by the Public Utility Workers Union, has raised serious objections, and the matter is still being seriously contested. I would wish that sometimes our leaders would stop and look back at some of the mistakes which were made and not repeat those mistakes. Because I know that aspects of ECG's work were privatized. You know that. They were privatized in the late 1980s. Revenue collection, for example, was privatized and given to the Electricity Company of France. And the result was a complete disaster. Complete disaster. You understand? Not just that. Water supply. We privatized water supply. Also, I think in the 1990s and so on. And brought in Aqua Vitan's Rand of South Africa. It was a total disaster. To the extent that we had to cancel the agreement later and so on. So, our leaders, especially in the energy sector, government, ought to realize by now that privatization is not a magic wand. It doesn't always resolve problems, you know. And to deal with all the problems which confront us, including I'm not sure whether to say the loss, because this may still be recovered.
Yes.
So the strange circumstances under which we have lost 1,328 containers. I think we need to deal with this matter.
And each container apparently will cost us about $500,000.
Yeah.
Metering systems, cables, anything electricity related. Close to $500,000.
So
and if you multiply that by 1,326.
Yeah, you're talking about something in the region of
700 and something million.
Yeah.
US dollars.
US dollars.
What?
That's how much is missing.
It's gone.
Angwezi, for me, this is a very simple matter.
Yes.
All shipment to ECG is consigned to ECG.
Yeah.
All the containers at the port immediately get to the port. It gets to the hands of ECG. Technically. Now, when you go to the port, before a container moves from one terminal to the other, even when you ship your own car, just see the kind of processes it goes through, the signings that have to go through before a container, your own car, is moved from one terminal to the other. We are being told that 1,328 containers miraculously moved from one terminal, went through all the custom processes. Don't forget that it is consigned to ECG. So there's no way the container can move without the consent of ECG.
But it has moved now.
I'm now coming there.
It has moved. So don't say there's no way. There are ways.
No, technically, I'm doing the proper way.
Yes.
If it's applied.
Yes, the proper way. So what it means is that these containers moved with the consent of ECG. It could not have moved at the Tema ports without the owner of the container. It's a process.
But isn't that an ideal situation?
Properly.
I'm coming.
If it was moved properly.
So you're saying that there's no way these containers can move.
I'm coming. When you go to the port,
yes,
and Uncle C's car or my car arrives at the port.
I have not imported any car.
No problem.
Yes. Let's get that straight.
So I get you.
It's just.
Oh no, it's important that you clarify.
Why doesn't he use his own? Why me? Why not you?
Okay, so Honorable, you have imported your car.
I've imported right
Your car has arrived at the port.
Annie has imported his car.
Why
me?
No, please. Annie hasn't imported any car. I beg you.
Listen, what I was excited about is the point he made that the managers of these institutions must answer.
No, you're still trying to explain to me how this couldn't have happened without the tacit involvement of ECG
not even possible.
Officials.
Yes. It is confined to ECG. The containers are
and
confined to ECG.
it couldn't have been stolen from.
So when you go to the port.
From the ECG.
1,300, I'm sure, you see the way it was packed.
Yes.
The cranes must be moving.
Yes.
The officials at the port, custom officers and everything, must know that there's a crane moving a container to another port or another site within the port to exit.
Well, that's
you
true.
cannot exit the Tema port without a written confirmation or a written authorization to move out. When you buy your car and get to the port, before you even drive your car out, you check. You go to this one particular point, you check all your documentations, it is stamped. You move to another point, it is stamped. These are all checked at the port.
What if all those what if all those officials or officers who are supposed to do this have all been compromised?
Absolutely. That's the point I'm making. I'm saying that this couldn't have happened. It's not magic. It means there are people within ECG, there are people at the port who knew the movement of these containers. And yesterday I was on another platform with my brother Dinapo. On radio, I told him that the minority side on the Energy Committee will give him the full support for him to unravel this mischief. I'm going to give him the full support
because quite clearly it's been stolen.
Absolutely, I have not cited the report. Of course, he sanctioned the whole investigation, and the report has been given to him. If he's minded, probably he will share it with the committee for us to look at it. But the things he talked about. Strange. ECG, a company like ECG, has a procurement division. They have an estate division. Then from what he's saying, I've not seen the report, you combine the procurement division with the estate division and make the head of the estate division, who has very little knowledge of procurement, the head of that unit.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Doesn't make sense.
That's the point I'm making.
It doesn't make sense.
So all the things we are hearing, I told him yesterday that for me, I'm as shocked as he is. Because we're talking 1,328 containers. For them to move from the port and go through all the processes that we go through when you are taking something from the port without the knowledge of anybody, it is just not possible. It is just not possible. So I am with him. That he says he wants to go get a full-scale investigation into the matter. I am with him. If he needs our assistance, we will help him because we need to get to the bottom of this matter. I kept saying this, and I've said this here before. ECG is probably the most important arm of the whole power chain.
But it's also poorly run.
But that's, you see, it is the most important arm because it is the only institution that deals directly with the consumer.
You mean interfaces with the consumer?
So they collect the money.
Yes.
So it is how much they collect that the others are paid.
True.
You just imagine. You have 2,000 something containers. Yesterday, listen to Jinapo. It contains transformers, other wires, and all that. There are people in this country now who need 1 or 2 transformers. There are areas in this country who need transformers to power their area. To power their area. How these containers can fly from the port when there's customs, there's national security, when you go to the port, national security, customs, GRA, all those institutions. Look at this is how the port works. Look at it. See the way the cranes were carrying the containers. So you are telling me that when the cranes were carrying 1,300 something containers, the custom officers, all the state officials at the port did not see this. Nobody saw it. It It is just not possible, my brother. So I can assure my brother John that we are with him with the investigations so that we get to the bottom of this issue. It cannot be the case that something that has been bought with our own money, ECG's money, will just vanish into thin air. It's just not possible.
And I mean, equally,
it's just not possible.
I mean, equally strange, Honorable. It's a situation where whoever must have done this is the person saying that they never knew that they would have been found out. I mean, like Lankwesi said, these are not chocolates. These are huge containers, 1,328. Okay. At some point, it will be found out. It will be discovered.
I know that the ECG managing director has a limit in terms of contracts. From what you are saying, the value of those containers, $500,000, $1 million,
yes,
goes above the MD. It will obviously go to the board. There should be some minutes, some documents, board meetings that justify even these procurement processes. There should be. And so I'm saying that we are with him. He should go through the full hall and get us a detailed report. Whoever is found culpable in this whole process should not be shielded. Because this is Ghana. This is Ghana. Containers are not bicycles.
When you were deputy minister at the Energy Ministry, were you aware of these containers? Because as of January, John Jinapo granted some interviews, I think one of which I watched, where he was complaining bitterly about ECG importing these containers, and yet they don't have the finances to clear them at the port. And so they are there, and then they attract demurrage. And yet they continue to import these containers, to add to what has already been stuck or been held up at the port. And he complained that it didn't make sense to him, right? And as of January, when he spoke to us, so I don't know whether Annie, if we have that video, please let's watch this video.
When he first assumed,
let's watch this video briefly. Let's watch this video.
With materials, cables, and other accessories, ECG has not been able to clear those containers. And so as we speak, we have 2,500 containers stuck there and stranded. And as they stay there, it attracts a lot of penalties and demurrage. And yesterday, the briefing I got is that so far, the demurrage alone is estimated at 1.5 billion. See, this is unacceptable. 1.5 billion cedis. This is unacceptable. The first question is that what led to this untenable situation? Why would ECG adopt that bundle? But what is even disturbing is that the briefing I got there is that with materials, cables, and other accessories, ECG has not been able to clear those containers. And so as we speak, we have 2,500 containers stuck there and stranded. And as they stay there, it attracts a lot of penalties and demurrage.
So, Honorable, that's John Jinapo. This was in January. He mentions 2,500 containers. At the time, he said, well, you don't speak for him. What do you know about these containers when you were deputy minister?
When he first spoke in January, he talked about 2,500.
Yes.
And then when he came to Parliament, I think it was a follow-up question to an earlier question that had been posed to him. And then he made mention of 3,000 containers. Before he came to Parliament, he had gone to the port to ascertain at first hand the number of containers that were there. And if you had the video, the impression was created that he has gone to see the containers. I don't blame him because probably that was the report he received. He then commissioned a committee to investigate why we have that much containers at the ports. I think the reports that came to him then suggested that what you were told earlier, that there were 3,000 or 2,005, we have just about 1,000 something left. And that is what he was talking about yesterday when he spoke to the media, when the report was presented to him. But by and large, my brother, 1,328 containers cannot vanish. It cannot. And that is why I say I'm with him. That if he wants to go the full haul, which he says he's going to do, and I'm in full support of, the minority is with him to investigate the whereabouts of these containers. And the culprit should come explain where the containers are.
And whether they are even intact.
Whether they are even intact, we should know. Because the containers were consigned to ECG. If ECG themselves have moved it from the port to one of their warehouses, they should tell us. You get the point I'm making. It cannot vanish into thin air.
Yeah.
It will be extremely strange for 1,000 something containers to move from the port, go through all the processes, move from the port, and not move to the ECG, which is the consignee of the product, to somebody's personal warehouse. And that is where we say we are with him on that. When I was at the ministry, this only got to my attention about the number some few months till we exited.
Yes.
But when I went in the ministry, I was with Petroleum. Yeah. It was later on that my boss, Herbert, pushed me to power. It was when I was going through some of the documents, because we had received a lot of requests from members of parliament and other individuals, pools, transformers, and all that. That's what prompted me to find out from the director, power at the ministry, that what do we have? Do we have some transformers in our possession? Don't forget that the ministry also has some procurement that they do, separate from ECG.
Okay, for who? For ECG?
No, the ministry sometimes does, because the street lighting and all those things is done by the ministry.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's different.
Okay.
So sometimes when you ask the director, I will tell you that we will contact ECG to find out whether they have some in stock, to see whether they can give it to us. So they balance themselves as and when time comes. So I'm a little surprised about the sheer number of containers at the port. And I'm told it was even attracting demurrage to a certain level. You know, because if the items are similar, and you've imported, let's say, 10 containers of transformers, you have not applied or you have not used them, and you are importing more. Yes, sometimes you have to have some in stock for emergencies, but to have close to about 2,000 containers containing the same amount of materials is a little bit out of place. So I'm saying that yes, we are with him. He should investigate. If he's minded to share the reports with the minority, we'll be prepared to also read through and give our advice. Yesterday, my ranking member called me to see if it is possible, and with their permission, we can also go there and have a look at the items ourselves to ascertain the veracity of all the issues ourselves at the port. And so, yes, looks very, very strange, but the containers cannot be missing.
Okay.
It cannot be missing. We have to find a way of finding the containers.
Okay. Let me do this, and we'll take a breather, and then I'll get on Chris's concluding remarks on this. But you know Kofi Nyantechi, Mr. Kofi Nyantechi, formerly of what's the name of the TV3, the owners of TV3, I've forgotten it. TV3, the owners of TV3. You know, he used to work there. And he says, good morning, my respected, well, thank you very much for that, but my good friend Moro. He said it's also quite plausible that there were no missing 1,328 containers because to perpetrate such a crime, the numbers of the containers were deliberately inflated and budgeted for in order to siphon the money for the excess ghost containers. That's his theory.
He's saying that could have been the case.
Yes, could, yes.
But the way it's written suggests that it was the case.
No, he said could.
Yeah,
actually
could.
Yeah.
But of course, the minister is also speaking based on
the official reports that were given to him. So he's suggesting
him
that perhaps the report that was given to him in itself may have been misleading.
Why do you tell your minister they have 300 or 3,000 or 2,500 containers at the port?
Yeah. When you have received money for 3,000
and
and you have paid for 3,000, why would you tell the minister it was less than that?
Yeah, all kinds of things are happening. Anyway, so we'll take a breather. We'll come back and okay. So let me just do this quickly, and then we'll come back. Would continue with this conversation. But just in case you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. I'm here with Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is a managing editor of the Insight newspaper, and also Collins Adomako Mensah, who's the MP for Efiduase Kwabre North, and also the former Deputy Energy Minister. We'll be speaking to the Sector Minister, John Jidapo, shortly on the matter of the indebtedness which has bedeviled ECG and generally the power sector that we ought to quickly do something about. Otherwise, we would be heading, we'll be in trouble, basically. And it's about the ASEC report, which is warning of mounting debts and is calling for some urgent reform. So as the way we get Mr. John Dinapo, we'll speak to him. So my understanding is that Mr. John Abdullahi Dinapo, who is the Sector Minister, has joined us. Mr. John Dinapo, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Morning Ghana. Hello, JJ. Okay, the call has dropped. And so once we get to John Dinapo, we'll see some clarity from him. First of all, I want to know about the numbers. There was 3,000 Parliament, 2,500 when he went to the place. Now, JJ, good morning. If you can speak up a bit, sir. Hello, JJ, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Good to have you on. Good to have you join us on the show. We're having a conversation about the presser which you held yesterday, and you talked about the missing containers, 1,328, and we're all wondering how those containers got missing. But before you even throw some more light on that, help us reconcile these figures. Now, there was an interview granted the press sometime in January where you talked about the fact that you had been to the ports and there were 2,500 containers. You found 2,500 containers there. And then also subsequently, Collins was just telling me that in Parliament, you mentioned the 3,000 as a follow-up question by one of your colleagues in Parliament, and you said there were 3,000 containers at the port. And now we're told 1,328 is missing. Help us reconcile and tidy up these figures so that we're all on the same page, sir.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to you. Is Collins on the program?
Yes, Collins is here.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good morning. Good morning.
Morning, my brother.
Okay, so what happened is that during the transition, as part of stock taking, the MPP side of the transition indicated that they had about 3,000 containers stuck at the ports, and they were struggling to clear those containers. So that is it. At the transition, they gave us 3,000.
Okay.
Then on assumption of office, I visited the port myself to see for myself the extent of the situation. And when we went to the port, ECG indicated they contracted some private companies to clear the containers. And they had cleared about 500, there was about 2,500. So I felt a bit alarmed. 3,000 figure, 2,500 figure. So I said, look, let's set up a committee. Let the committee investigate, one, circumstances leading to those containers being held at the port. Because we don't even have to have 100 containers stuck at the port. Not even 100. Two, what we can do about the demurrage, which was accumulating and was about 1.5 billion cedis at the time. And then three, and more importantly, how can we clear these containers? And then four, any other related matters with respect to procurement. So there was a 3,000 figure, there was a 2,500 figure. And then when the committee started this work, officially, ECG gave them a figure of about 2,490 thereabout, so about 2,500. And so the committee itself decided that they would do a stock taking of the containers so that they can verify the veracity or otherwise of ECG's claims. Because bear in mind, there was at 3,000, 2,500, and now on paper about 2,490. When they did the actual stock taking, they submitted the report to me yesterday, and the committee chairman was categorical that about 1,300 containers could not be accounted for. On ECG's official document, those containers were supposed to be at the port. But when they went to the port to verify, more than 1,300 containers were missing and could not be accounted for. So that is what I have to say to you.
So this 1,328 is out of the 2,490, supposedly?
Exactly so. Exactly so.
Wow. Collins is just telling us that there was no way these containers could have left the port without the tacit approval of ECG. Do you agree with him?
Well, that's possible. So where are the containers? It's also possible that there's some collusion. In fact, what alarmed me and I got national security to intervene, we had two situations where ECG containers were intercepted by some police officials, and they're even investigating.
When was this?
This should be about a month ago.
Where?
This should be about a month ago.
Where were these
around
containers?
The Pong area. Around the Pong area.
Around the Pong area, okay.
The Pong area.
Okay.
And so when they intercepted them, about 10 or so of them, National Security got involved. And so National Security Coordinator, with my approval, thought that they should secure all the containers so that we don't have these challenges. Because sometimes, even not to doubt anybody, even when people claim that they are helping ECG clear the containers, you never know where they will end. But the record keeping is so bad, there's so much collusion. And so what we have to do now is to launch a criminal investigation into this matter. And I think that, like Colin says, we should be able to trace, to know where the containers are. Because, for instance, if you have 2,490, then it means you ordered those containers. It means a bill of lading were produced. It means that the containers went to a certain port or a certain container terminal. It means that that container terminal received the container. And so somebody took custody of the containers. If the containers were leaving, they could only leave through proper documentation. A clearing agent or company would have cleared those containers. ECG also has warehouses. Somebody should have received those containers. And so if we check the records, we should be able to trace where these containers ended, and then whoever or whichever company is liable will be held responsible. The only way to unravel this is to get the state agencies to conduct a proper criminal investigation into this matter.
Did the report which you sanctioned the committee to produce, did this state, for instance, when the last container moved out of the port?
In fact, what happened was that when they started suspecting it, I wrote a letter to freeze everything. Because let me be frank with you, even those companies, private companies, ECG contracted to clear the containers, they are under investigation. So during the investigation process, we suspended all that in order to get facts about the matter, so that you are sure that people do not move it even as the investigations are ongoing.
College, you want to ask? No, feel free. You want to ask me a question?
John.
Yes.
Yes, my brother. Did the committee speak to any of the former MDs of ECG in their work?
Yes, according to them, they spoke to some of the former MDs. They spoke to former employees, and they depended on official record. I want to ask permission from the president and publish the report. I mean, all of us want to do the right thing, and I do not want to jump into conclusion now. Let's get to the bottom of the matter. That clearly the committee has reported that over 1,300 containers cannot be accounted for. We must trace those containers and determine and find the whereabouts of those containers. That is paramount. And Collins, you know that the container can cost as much as $500,000. And so, depending on the items in it. And so, this is a very serious matter. I even asked them what are the items in it. They said that they can't tell me the details of the items in the container. What they've done is that there's container A, it has serial number, it cannot be found. We need to trace those containers and get them.
But John, just a quick one. There are people who actually, in fact, Mr. Kofi Nyantechi, I'm sure you know him, formerly of TV3, one of the directors. He sent a message and said he suspects that it well may be that even the 2,000 or 3,000, information that you're given during the transition period may not have been the case, and that somebody deliberately inflated the numbers in order to, steal from the system. Do you think that's
well,
possible?
then whoever did that is deceiving public officials.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that happened. Because the committee says that they got official information from ECG. And also at the transition committee, it was official information. So if you say that container ABC is missing, the container must have a serial number, must it not?
Absolutely.
Yes, it must have a contract that we contracted company A to bring container B, which contains XYZ. It landed at the port on this day, and the bill of lading was presented to ECG, and ECG paid them. So certainly, some money is gone somewhere. So if those containers actually do not exist, then ECG might be paying some funny companies or paying for work not done. So that is also a matter of investigation. And the committee, they were categorical that some containers came, they contain meters, they contain cables. ECG makes the claim that they do not have money to clear those containers. But at the same time, they were awarding contracts for the supply of same material. I mean, that defies logic. It makes no sense. In 2023, ECG went to their board and got approval to procure certain items. By the end of the year, they had procured 700% and above what the board approved for them. That is problematic. ECG had a fully established directorate of procurement. In 2023, they decided to merge that directorate with the estate and premises unit. They collapsed the procurement directorate and brought it under estate and premises and kicked away the procurement director and made the director in charge of estate to become the procurement director alongside being estate manager. That cannot happen. And the committee said that is a clear breach. So these are issues that beyond even the containers. I'm writing to ECG today to decouple the procurement director from the estate department and get a qualified procurement person to head that unit. Because ECG's main function deals with a lot of procurement. So why would you collapse the procurement directorate and bring it under the estates unit? It makes no sense.
John, Collins has a question for you.
Yeah, John, just as a follow-up to what you just talked about, that in 2023, the procurement division was merged with the estate division. The managing director at the time was Dubik Mahama.
Yes.
And yesterday I spoke to him, and I have his permission to mention his name, that he says he had never been contacted by the committee. I felt that this being a very, very critical point, the managing director at the time should have been contacted. Don't you think so?
Well, I do not want to judge anybody. I constituted a committee. They've done their work. They've submitted their report. They are done. Now, these comments also help. And as minister, I want to be fair to everybody. I want us to follow due process. I want us to do what is right and proper. One, we would launch a criminal investigation into these containers. Two, if it is true that the estate and procurement unit has been met, we have to decouple them, Collins. I guess you agree with me.
I do.
Yeah, so let's do the right things. I'll find out. I mean, yesterday we had a major problem with Tallow. And if you realize, in the evening we had a bit of challenge with power supply. Because Tallow shut their pipeline because of months of unpaid bills. And so yesterday I had to be scrambling, go to finance and sit at finance throughout till some payments were made. Fortunately, the pipeline has been opened again. So yesterday was very tight for me. This is a 103-page document. It was only submitted yesterday, and I responded to their commentary. So these are early days yet. We will do what is right and proper. Everybody will have a fair hearing. If anybody is found culpable, the person will face the full rigor of the law. It's as simple as that.
Now, speaking about indebtedness to ECG, I know, John, you have to leave us at some point, but this civil society organization, ASEC, has put out a very, very disturbing report where it says there's mounting debts and is calling for urgent reforms. And it talks about government spending on energy sector ballooning to 20.8 billion cedis 2024. In 2025, is projected to shoot up to 35 billion with an estimated total shortfall of 140 billion from 2022 to 2026. What is the current state of the indebtedness of ECG as you have come to find out? And if there are any other matters concerning ECG that you want to bring to our attention before you take leave of us?
The latest debt as of yesterday is not at about 80 billion cedis.
How much?
80 billion cedis.
80 billion cedis.
80 billion cedis.
Spanning which period to which period?
Well, that is the latest debt. So you have to go back. And you recall that, for instance, in 2016, when we left office, by 2017 September, when the ESLA PLC was launched, the debt was 9.7 billion. So far, ESLA has accrued about 45 billion. But the debt is moved from the 9.7 billion in 2017 September to today 80 billion. And that is not the end of it. My worry is the way it is mounting and increasing. So my first target is how to stop the bleeding or begin to reduce it with the aim of turning it around. And so we are doing all the analysis. We're strictly implementing the cash waterfall mechanism. And so ECG used to keep 500 million. I've directed that it should be reduced to about 250 million. In fact, if you follow the cash waterfall strictly, they will get only 46 million. But that will not be enough to even pay salaries. So we have to be rational and use our heads. So we are managing it and paying the IPPs more money, but we're also working around the clock to reduce dependence on liquid fuel so that we can stop the bleeding. And then we see how we can deal with the legacy debt. But I'm very, very worried about the state of the energy sector. I think that the 35 billion estimated by SF is even on the conservative side. But what I'm seeing, I get very worried, and I must work extra hard with all the other sector players in order to turn around the situation, because it's quite disturbing.
Two quick questions. Yesterday, Kotoka International Airport suffered some power outage. I don't know whether you've picked up some information as to what has happened. And people have actually complained that how come that the place doesn't have a standby? I know you don't manage there, but you may have some information on that. It doesn't have a standby alternative power source, such that if it goes off, quickly, it should be able to come back, because a critical national security, facility. Do you have any information as far as that is concerned? The Ghana Airport campaign matter.
In some airports, the national grid is even rather the backup. They run on generator 24/7. And so I'm surprised that they don't have a generator. But my worry is even the payment of bills to us.
What, they owe you
institutions, they don't pay their bills. They owe.
Ghana Airport Company owes you too.
After the briefing I got, they were owing us. Ghana Water, for about 3 months, they are not paying for their bills. And we can't continue to supply power. I've told the president and I've written to the chief of staff that I'm pleading with them. We cannot continue like that. Look, power is no more free. Electricity is no more free. We must change our attitude. If we don't, we're going to run into serious problems. Look, the way the debt is mounting, I am very worried. And it's not just ECG's collection. ECG's collection is one. ECG ought to collect about 2.5 billion every month in order for us to stay afloat. They collect less than 1 billion. So every month there's a shortfall of over 1 billion. That shortfall, I've drilled down on the reasons. One of the reasons is tariff itself. The tariff is not cost reflective. 2, state-owned entities and agencies are not paying. 3, Collins is there. The capacity charge is not part of the tariff structure. So even when ECG collects 100%, we'll still have a huge shortfall. So these are the issues we need to be tackling. How do we deal with all those agencies who are not paying? How do we address ECG itself in terms of their billing and collection? How do we deal with the excess capacity that we have. Can we export it and then it becomes like a buffer for us? How do we deal with fuel challenges? And so these are things that we've been working on around the clock to see how we can resolve.
JJ,
and I'm sure that will make some progress.
Yes, finally. You know, your ministry is not just energy ministry, it's now energy ministry and green transition. I also do know that government has plans of going big time on solar. I mean, solar energy. Where are we, in the scheme of things? Because I don't understand why places like Ghana Airport Company Limited and some other key, how do you call it, national facilities that we have should not be on solar.
I perfectly agree with you. And also street lights. Why can't we put street lights on solar? Because that reduces the peak demand. And the peak demand is always a problem because when you satisfy the peak demand, the off-peak, it becomes excess capacity for you to pay. So if we can have a lot of solar powered street lights, which accounts for about 400 megawatts, and that is the peak demand, we'll be suppressing the peak demand. So you are right. Also, schools, clinics, can we take them off the national grid and put some solar systems on them so that they don't even pay light bills again? We've developed a framework. I've sent it to Cabinet. Cabinet is approved. We're now going to finance with no objection. We are getting a little bit of money from fossil fuels through MPA so that we can use that for renewable. Because that is the norm now. You use revenues from fossil-related fuel and invest that in renewable-related energy so that you can transition. We want to have some electric vehicle charging stations using solar and other mechanisms. Because yesterday I did some analysis and I was told that a huge truck, you will need about 1 megawatt to charge that huge truck. So, and very soon, whether we like it or not, a lot of our home use cars will be electric powered vehicles because we depend on Europe and US. So we must begin to start preparing now. But they are moving into EV vehicles big time. Now BYD just launched a system where in 5 minutes you can charge your car and keep moving. So we must keep abreast with changing trends and be able to do that. And so in the next few weeks, if not days, you should see us begin to do some work on green transition and renewable powered electricity consumption and other related areas.
Okay. I had promised that my earlier question was the final, but I beg of you, just 30 seconds on this one. I was monitoring a program yesterday on a media station, and one of the issues that came up was the intermittent power supply in the Ashanti region. There was a guy who called into the show and was complaining that the erratic power supply hasn't improved. What information do you have per your monitoring?
Well, for some months now, Ashanti region has been having some erratic power challenge.
Hello,
some erratic power challenges.
Okay.
And the main reason was their transformer. The bulk supply point had a 66 kV transformer, which had been overloaded, let me put it that way, because demand had grown. So they were having challenges. But fortunately, we've just completed changing that transformer to a 146 MVA transformer. So that's almost 3 times the capacity of the old transformer. But they were switching from the old transformer to the new transformer. And admittedly, one error or mistake or omission that I realized is that Ashanti region ECG and Gridco did not conduct very extensive public education. When you are switching, naturally, you have challenges. The good news is they've done the switching. Now we've switched over to the new transformer, and so the power situation should improve significantly. I've asked for a status report on what we call the SAFI report so that I can determine the level of consistent supply of power. So by the end of this week, we will get to know the situation. But I do know that the situation has improved significantly. And that's why I had to go to Kumasi myself to assure the people of Kumasi that we're doing it for a good reason. And going forward, they should see significant improvement in power delivery.
All right, Honorable John Jinapo, we affectionately call you JJ. Thank you so very much for your time. It's been...
Mr. Pratt on the
yes,
program.
Mr. Pratt is here.
Please tell him he owes me.
That's why between the two of you.
Tell him that he also owes me.
Oh, JJ owes you too. Hey, this owing matter. Yeah, I'm totally lost. You know, Uncle says hello back.
Thank you for me. Thank you.
All right. I'll do that. Thank you. Have a good day, sir. Thank you. That's John Jinapo. He's the Sector Minister. He's the Energy and Green Transition Minister. I'm sure that he's responded to many of the concerns that we have. So we'll have to take a breather. It's just 30 seconds. And then when we come back, I'll get on Chrissy's concluding remarks. And then if there's time, we can look at the Attorney General, Dominic Ayene's press on Monday. So please stay with us. This is Good Morning.
Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath.
I'm a fat missy way.
The patch of Bantama.
Machasi.
It's her smile, the fresh breath.
Me, Jidi said we use a Cal 360 toothpaste. Some kind. Cal 360 toothpaste.
That's Kia. Cal 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector. Onim jom kasa. Ile hosen. Cal 360 better way. It's cool mint. Gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
You will see feeling when you know Cal 360 toothpaste.
Happy smile.
Cal 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath. Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Who are you? Who are you? Charlie, I'll be you from the future. Who doesn't sleep on that slice of bread you call mattress anymore? Don some slippers, then follow me.
It is part of the mattress we did the front there.
Yeah?
Happiness mattress where the dead for me.
Wait, what are you doing?
Wow! No damage at all. Not only durable, but also super comfortable. Come on, try it.
Nothing day like ash foam. Enjoy full body support and unparalleled comfort for a restful sleep.
Don't forget your keys.
Get the premium sleep experience with mattresses from Ash Foam. Visit any of our showrooms nationwide or at ashfoam.com.
Mommy.
Michelle say, fe.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Chocolate Toothpaste, healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Chocolate Toothpaste, Sankofa.
Yenchi, Kel Chocolate Toothpaste.
Happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved.
I'm a brand manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printings. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable printing.
You're the answer to my prayers. You're with me everywhere. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need tonight. Give me shelter from the rain. You breathe life in me again. You're my angel, miracle. You're all I need to know tonight.
Attention all farmers, are you ready to take your crops to the next level? Introducing 3 effective organic composts that will revolutionize your farming practices. ACAP, KCAP and IRECOP brings to you the ultimate solution for your fertilizer needs. Introducing the ACAP Grade A, KCAP Equiafua Jinkwa and the IRECOP with cocoa blends, palm blend and mulch. These are made from locally sourced municipal solid waste, and these are the perfect choice for sustainable farming. Join the organic revolution today. Boost your crop yield, improve soil health, and support sustainable farming practices. Choose ACAP, KCAP, and IRECOP organic compost for a greener and bountiful harvest. For your purchase and more information, call the numbers on your screen. Our products are endorsed by COCOBOD, Planting for Food and Jobs, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Jesus Christ loves you, and greater love hath no man. Because of his love, he opens the way. He opens eyes, ears, and minds. Open your heart and experience General Conference of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and feel his love. Greater love.
All right, you're still live on Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. I have Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is the managing editor of the Inside newspaper, and also Collins Adoma-Komensa, who is the MP for, I want to get it right, okay? He's the, yes, Efidiase Kwabre North, yes. Efija Kwabre North, yes, Efija Kwabre North, also a former Deputy Energy Minister. I have a special birthday dedication. You know, we don't play, we don't joke with our viewers, because without it, we don't have a show. So there's this gentleman called Prince Henry of Koforidua. He's a regular texter on the show, even when Randy was here and all. And so today is his birthday, and we want to wish him happy birthday. We wish you the best, okay? We wish you the best of luck in everything else that you do. And also, today is Richard Ahiagba, who's the Director of Communications. So today is also your birthday. Richard, we can't thank you enough. We wish you God's blessings, guidance, and everything that you wish for yourself from all of us here at Metro TV. Annie, F1, Pofo, myself, I want to believe Mr. Kwesi Pratt, and Collins, everybody. We wish you a happy birthday. Richard, please enjoy, but in modesty, we beg. Anyway, so those are the birthday dedications that I want to make. So, how is he? In conclusion, you've heard John Jinapo, you've also heard Collins, and of course, like I said, if there's time, we can visit Edubuahine. He's still in NIB custody.
Well, there are several questions which have not been satisfactorily answered with regard to the laws of these containers. And all we can say now is that there's the need to establish the facts through an investigation. That's all we can say.
That's it. Okay.
Yes, and I'm happy he says he's going to give all the parties an opportunity to be listened to.
In fact, you mentioned the former MD.
Because I got information that he said he had not been contacted.
Yeah.
And I felt that since he was in charge between the period that the investigations pertain, he should have been contacted. But as Jinapo said, he's now received the report. He will give an opportunity to all the persons mentioned to have their day. I was also particularly happy about the situation in Kumasi, because for the past 3 weeks, it's been terrible. Yeah. The lighthouse have been terrible. I had the opportunity to speak about it on the floor. I'm happy he assures us that the changeover is taking place. I mean, this was a transformer that I think had been there for some time, and I'm happy that it's been put to good use now and helping to do the changeover. The people of Kumasi have been complaining about the power situation.
And rightly so.
And rightly so, yeah. So I'm happy he's confirmed that something has been done about it.
Okay. I think, in fact, I forgot to ask him whether he intends to share the report with
Parliament. He said he was going to speak to the President to get his guidance.
Okay.
Whether we should
as to what to do with the report.
But we'll be happy as a committee to have a copy of it.
Okay. You are still on the Energy
Committee, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll be happy to have it so we can, as I said, to assist him also.
Okay. So we're going to we're not taking a flight, but we can drive our personal vehicles and visit Mr. Edubuahine and see how he's faring. His wife has been doing everything possible to get him to be granted bail. So the Daily Guide of today is reporting that Jibril Abdulrazak, who's the reporter, says that lawyer for the immediate past Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edubuahine, and his wife, Angela Ajay-Boateng, has applied for bail at the High Court as the two are still in the custody of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, YOCO. Kwabena Edubuahine is accused of diverting 49 million cedis of state funds through his private company owned by him and the wife under the guise of purchasing cyber defense system for the country. The couple, according to Attorney General, have been granted an inquiry bail totaling 200 million cedis with sureties to be justified. But their lawyer, Samuel Atachia, in his application filed before a High Court in Accra, avers that this was a clear motive by the YOCO to incarcerate the couple beyond the 48-hour rule by imposing the burdensome and unreasonable conditions on them. The application, which attaches the AG and YOCO as respondents, avers that the liberty of the applicant should not be at the sufferance of the respondents, who have clearly shown an intention to continue with this blatant violation of their rights to liberty pending investigations. The application further argues that it will be a travesty to justice to allow the captors of the applicants to determine the reasonable conditions that are requisite for their bail, given their demonstrated utmost bad faith and unmitigated prejudice in the matter. Mr. Chacha also alleges that officers of YOCO have denied him audience with his client and that he insisted on him engaging the couple at the counter of the cells while they listen and record the lawyer-client interaction. And of course, the story goes ahead to give us a background to it. But the minority has held a news conference and they are saying that they are unfazed of what is happening. And that is captured, yes, say, political prosecution, still the Daily Guide. Political persecution, you can arrest us, but we remain resolute. Afenyomakin. And as Kofi Edu in Parliament House, the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomakin, has accused President John Mahama of using the justice system as a tool for political persecution rather than governance. Speaking during his turn on the debate on the 2025 budget statement yesterday, he asserted that the ruling government is deliberately targeting its opponents instead of addressing the pressing issues facing the nation. You can arrest all of us, but we will remain resolute. No amount of intimidation will break our spirit in 2028. We will defeat you and restore true governance to this country, according to Afenyomakin. And the story, the rest of it continues. How was he?
Well, I mean, we were taught in our early days in journalism that when you know that a matter is likely to go to court, a matter that is not even in court is likely to go to court, or a person is likely to be charged before a competent court and so on, you cannot make prejudicial statements.
Right.
It would amount to straightforward contempt. And when the person is in court, you can also not make prejudicial statements. These are just rules that, as journalists, we are enjoined to follow. So I'm not going to make any comment which will presume the innocence or guilt of Mr. Edu Buahi. Okay? What I want to say simply is that any person who is accused of wrongdoing, especially corruption, leading to the loss of resources by the state, has a right to defend himself or herself. And that person cannot be presumed to be guilty until proven guilty in a competent court. Not just proven guilty, but proven guilty in a competent court. I'm happy that the question of his bail is being litigated in court. I'm very happy. Now, that is not to say that every decision of the court is acceptable. Because we've had situations where we've even had cause to disagree with Supreme Court decisions and so on. But somehow, somewhat, there has to be some arrangement, for bringing some conclusion to litigations. And we have decided that our courts should be the place where litigations are brought to some finality. So we await the decision of the court. Now, one of the very, very basic principles that govern prosecutions is that accused persons are entitled to access to their counsel. Now, Mr. Tachia indicates that he has not been given access to his client. Is that true? I don't know. That's a matter which will be contested in court, and the court will make a determination. You understand? It's also important for us to understand that accused persons have no obligation to assist the prosecution or the investigators to prove their guilt. That is why accused persons can remain silent, even in court. They can even refuse to plead, and so on. So it's important that these fundamental rights of accused persons are respected. Now, having said that, I am getting increasingly worried.
Why?
About the posture of the minority in Parliament, and I'm happy that you're here. The posture of the minority in Parliament is to politicize every arrest, politicize every issue, and so on. That's the impression we are getting in the public.
But they said you're being persecuted.
On what basis? You understand? Especially when some of the claims which have been made have turned out to be strange, at best strange. You understand? And I'll give you a few examples. There's a search on the residence, private residence, of the former governor of the Bank of Ghana. And the minority actually addresses a press conference in which it makes all kinds of claims. And one of the claims is that 3 official vehicles, not 1, 3 official vehicles in the residence of the ex-governor of the Bank of Ghana were taken away, and that he was asked to go and pick them later. I mean, this is an incredible position to take. What were official vehicles doing in a former governor's house? Because if those vehicles had been sold to him, they ceased to be official vehicles. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I get it.
And yet, the minority actually calls a press conference to make these claims. Ridiculous in the extreme. You understand?
Yeah.
Now, I heard the Attorney General at his press conference said that if the minority continues on this tangent, he would release a tape recording of the governor.
Yeah, he had a conversation he had with the governor.
Exactly, he will release it. I don't know what's on that tape recording. But from the way the Attorney General speaks, it appears that it may embarrass the governor. Is the minority willing to push this to the extent that it becomes an embarrassment to the governor? I don't know. I mean, you don't have to politicize everything. People, when they are arrested, all of us, including the minority, including the majority, including citizens like you and I, have a responsibility to insist that they are treated fairly. You have a responsibility to insist that their rights are not violated. Because if we don't, and that becomes the norm, we may be the next in line, and so on. Okay? So that responsibility is for everybody, majority, minority, ordinary citizens, and so on. But the extent that the minority goes sometimes, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, sometimes, especially about these official cars and so on. You know, I mean, there are issues which can be legitimately raised. For example, we are told that when the search team went to the governor's house, he apparently had cameras.
CCTV cameras.
Yes, which enabled him to see what was happening in the Bank of Ghana. Okay. One legitimate question. What building are we talking about? The old Bank of Ghana or the new Bank of Ghana? That's a legitimate question. Now, if it's the old Bank of Ghana, what is in the old Bank of Ghana which is so important for security and so on? I don't know. Okay? If it's the new Bank of Ghana, what was he saying? Is it just possible that those cameras were installed whilst he was still governor and he has not been minded to disconnect them when he went on retirement and so on? Those are important questions. Okay. In any case, if it's a question of CCTV cameras and so on, why don't you just simply dismantle them? Do you require a raid on his house to dismantle CCTV cameras? Obviously not. You understand?
The Attorney General said it wasn't a raid, it was a search. He had a warrant.
That's diction. That's choice of words. I mean, the substance of the issue is that some people went to his house.
Yes.
With weapons.
Yes.
To search and so on. You can call it a raid, you can call it a visit, you can call it whatever you want. Okay. The essence is that some people, armed people, about 20 of them or more, went to his house. So I'm not worried about whether you call it a raid or you call it a visit or you call it a courtesy call. I don't mind. Or a search. I don't mind.
All right.
I want us to look at the substance, you understand? So did that require this display, this public display and so on? I don't know. These are legitimate questions to ask. And if the minority were to raise these questions, I don't think that anybody would bother and so on. And there are more questions to raise. Okay. But some of the things that are being said, and honorable, they are being said in your name. Sometimes don't you feel embarrassed?
Maybe he agrees.
Well, let's listen to him if he agrees.
Wallace, do you agree or disagree?
Well, first of all, I've been on this show for 4 years, 5 years.
Yes.
Everybody knows my position on corruption. Okay. I don't condone people who misuse assets that has been entrusted in their hands by the state. But I also don't like public prosecution. I believe that everybody, as Ankosi is saying, should be given an opportunity to give their side of the story. I listened to Dr. Yene, and he made very boring analogies. He talked about two main issues, the Sky Train and then Mr. Dubois' issue. On the Sky Train,
he also talked about the NSS scandal.
Yes, on the Sky Train, he says the ex-managing director is on the run. He's run to Senegal, and that if he does not come back, he will be tried in absentia. Immediately after the press conference, the ex-managing director, Asamoah, released the statement.
Yeah.
And with your permission, let me just read a portion. Okay. Denial of allegations made by the Attorney General during a press briefing on Monday, March 24th, 2025, on the matter involving my alleged unavailability in Ghana. I am issuing this statement to deny a false allegation that was made against me by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Honorable Dr. Dominic Ayene, during his press conference held on Monday, 24th March 2025. It has become important that I clarify matters and present accurate information without prejudicing the work of the AG. Firstly, I categorically deny the false and inaccurate allegations that have gone into hiding in Senegal. This claim is entirely inaccurate and untrue. In fact, I traveled out of Ghana on Friday, 21st March 2025. Now check the date. He traveled on Friday, 21st. The press conference was on the 24th Monday, to attend scheduled board meetings as part of a corporate responsibility that was planned well in advance. Prior to my departure, I've been present in Ghana for long periods in both February and March. During this period, I was never contacted by any government official in relation to an invitation to assist in any investigation. What it means that the whole of February he was in town. In March, he's been in town. Nobody has contacted him in respect of this particular investigation. However, on Saturday, 22nd March 2022, a day after departure from Accra, I was indeed contacted via WhatsApp by an official of the National Intelligence Bureau who requested an online meeting with me, which we agreed to hold on Wednesday, 26th March at 4 p.m. today. Now watch this. The man has been in Ghana throughout February, March. Nobody contacted him. He travels on Friday, 21st, Friday the 21st, to attend an already planned engagement. On 22nd, a day after his departure, he gets a call from somebody who works with NIB. They have a conversation, and it is agreed for both of them to have a planned online conversation today at 4 p.m. Before even the meeting is held, the minister appears on Monday at a press conference and tells the whole country and the world that the man is running away. Is this fair? Is this public prosecution fair?
Of course, if we're to go by what he's claiming.
Absolutely.
But why do you assume
that
one party is telling the truth and one party is lying?
And that's why society.
That's the problem.
But that's the problem.
On what basis?
And so on what basis should I believe AG?
So let us say that there are doubts and that those doubts can only be cleared in a competent court.
But I'm saying, Uncle, I get your point.
You understand?
Yeah. But
so you don't run and make those allegations against
the AG has made a statement.
Yeah.
The AG has made a statement claiming that the man has been running.
Yes.
He's been searched. We can't find him.
And the man says,
the man comes back.
So who is speaking the truth?
I believe Solo.
You don't believe the AG?
Oh, I believe Solo.
You don't believe the AG?
I'm not doubting the AG. That's what I'm saying.
How can you not doubt the AG?
That is what I'm saying. Oh, I'm saying that I don't believe in public prosecution. I expected the AG to make this argument in court.
Okay.
And not to have a press conference and say all kinds of things against a gentleman who is telling you now that I've not run away. Okay. Indeed, your people contacted me via phone.
Okay.
And I told them that, I just left the country.
Okay.
And they said they are even ready to have a discussion with me on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But you have a press conference on Monday.
Right.
You get the point I'm making?
Okay.
You have a press conference on Monday.
Okay.
I am with the AG in any effort to ensure that accountability is brought to bear.
Right.
I'm with the AG.
Okay.
But the processes leading to that conclusion, please, must be fair to everybody.
All right.
Massa, you are being very unfair to the AG. And let me explain why. The AG did not just wake up one morning and decide to hold a press conference. It is clear that the AG's press conference was in response to the numerous claims that were being made against his office and himself.
About gift, like the way the AG said?
Listen, what did the AG do? The AG sought to prove that these arrests and prosecutions were not malicious. So he used examples and so on to demonstrate that. That's what he did.
All right.
Perhaps, if he had not been so provocative, he may not have held the press conference. So all the time that you were holding press conferences, attacking him and accusing him of interfering and so on.
We are being told the story out there is the story by the AG.
Okay. Yes.
What happens?
If he had kept quiet, would he have done that?
But do we force him to make this kind of
You forced him by making allegations against him.
The point I'm making is
you forced him.
With the point I'm making, he made a very interesting
So both of you should keep quiet and allow the courts to make the investigation.
If now they go to court, and some of the issues he raised turn out to be not true.
Yeah, what will happen? All right. Right, so Marco Joba,
good morning.
He will be held liable for it.
But by then, you'd have caused damage to a
I agree with you. So don't provoke this situation.
He shouldn't be provoked. He's the agent. He shouldn't be provoked.
This can easily be traced through investigation. The shipping lines have all the information. It is either the minister wasn't briefed properly or the containers did not arrive at the port at all. 1,320 equivalent units missing at the port is just not possible. Tema Port's security is one of the best in West Africa. You should also, that's from Marco Jobafo. This is his theory. His theory is that the shipping lines have all the information. It's either the minister wasn't briefed properly or the containers did not arrive at all. So you should also find out from Kwesi, does he know the conditions of service of the governor of the Bank of Ghana? Why was he asked to retrieve the 3 vehicles taken away if they were wrongly in his possession? And then this one here says, good morning, Kwesi. Is Kwesi suggesting that Rana would dare to make public statements but it's not realistic? I mean from Tamale sense that. And Ebo Bachman says Ethiopia, realizing the devastation caused by corruption, has set up a special anti-corruption court for swift justice and enacted an asset recovery law to reclaim assets of public officials acquired through under-declared income. Meanwhile, we seem to be... Okay.
I don't know the conditions of the government. It may well be that he's allowed to take 3 vehicles home. The moment he takes those 3 vehicles home, they cease to be official vehicles.
Right.
They become his personal vehicles.
That's fine.
Yeah, but the point is, if it were official vehicles, why did they return it to him?
Okay.
Yeah, but these are all questions that we need to ask.
Right. So Alaji Hamza from Big Farm says, Alaji Hamza says, good morning, my brother. In fact, listening to the Honorable General this morning, my heart bleeds for this nation. This issue of missing containers must be investigated to the latter, and those found to be involved in this criminal act must be made to face the full rigors of the law. We can't continue this way in this country, and it is clear that the previous government criminally managed our energy sector. That's coming from Alaji Hamza. Have a good day. Thank you very much for watching.